All right, today we're going to build a completely flawless MEP project setup in Primavera P6, and we're going to do it from the ground up. We're not even touching activities or logic yet. Instead, we're building that bulletproof foundation that, honestly, most schedules are missing. Let's dive in.
So let's kick things off with a question that, probably keeps every single planner up at night. Why do most MEP schedules fall apart? Even the ones that look absolutely perfect on day one. You spend weeks linking everything up, you check all your logic, and then, poof, it just breaks. Why?
And here's the thing, the answer might actually surprise you. The problem isn't your complicated logic. It's not those finish-to-start relationships or some tricky lag you put in. The real point of failure, the thing that makes your entire schedule so fragile, is the project foundation you built, or more likely, failed to build, before you even thought about adding a single activity.
And that is exactly what we are going to tackle today, the real root of schedule failure. We're going to stop treating the project setup like some boring administrative task and start treating it like what it is, the most critical phase of planning.
Think of this explainer as your step-by-step guide. We are going to walk through creating a project container that is so solid it practically forces you to use good scheduling practices later on. This is all about prevention, not cure.
Okay, so let's jump right into piece 6. Our first job is to create the project container itself, but we have to do it with some real discipline.
First things first, where you create the project is a huge deal. That enterprise project structure, the EPS, it's not just a bunch of folders. It controls your reporting, your security, everything. So putting your project in the right spot is absolutely non-negotiable. But here's the killer mistake to avoid. See that must-finish-by date? Leave it completely blank. Forcing a deadline in there right now is one of the most destructive things a planner can do. And this right here just nails why we do that. Your schedule's end date needs to be a result. It should be calculated based on your activity logic and durations. It needs to tell you the truth. The moment you force a date from the top down, you're just telling P6 to cram everything in, and that hides your real critical path. You end up with a fantasy, not a plan.
Okay, so we've got our project container locked in. Now we have to define the actual rules of the game. This is where we tell P6 how our project is going to operate in the real world.
Now, this might seem super simple, but it's an absolutely critical step. Using the default 5-day office calendar for a construction project that works 6 days a week, well, that's a fatal flaw. Right away, all of your durations will be wrong. You have to assign a calendar that reflects the actual site working hours and holidays. That way, you're building in realism from day one.
Next up, in your project preferences, you need to lock in these two schedule options. And let me be clear, these are not suggestions. For construction, you must use the longest path calculation method. This is what makes sure P6 is correctly identifying that chain of activities that really drives your project's completion. And of course, defining critical activities by total float is the industry standard.
All right, so our container is built, the rules are set. Now for arguably the most important piece of the puzzle, the work breakdown structure, or WBS.
Just look at the night and day difference here. On the left, you've got total chaos. One giant bucket called MEP, maybe broken down by floor, it's impossible to manage. But on the right, you have control. The structure is organized by the project's life cycle, by phase, which is how projects are actually delivered. This is the whole key.
And here is that professional blueprint. Your top-level WBS has to be these phases: engineering, procurement, installation, testing and commissioning, and then handover. Then, and only then, under installation, you can break it down by discipline: HVAC, electrical, plumbing, and so on. This structure immediately gives you clear visibility and control over every single phase of the work. And I want you to pay close attention to this. Notice how testing and commissioning is a top-level WBS item. It is not an afterthought you tack on at the end. If you don't build your plan with commissioning as a core, critical component from the very beginning, your completion date is pure fiction. It has to be on that critical path from day one.
We're almost there. The main structure is in place. Now we just need to fine-tune a couple of default settings. This is all about making sure our data is clean and our reporting is powerful later on.
Before you even dream of creating an activity, go to your project defaults. The single most important setting here is %complete type. It must be set to physical. Think about it. For MEP work, we measure progress by installed quantities, meters of cable, lengths of duct, number of fixtures. We don't care how many days have passed. Using duration %complete will just hide the truth about where your project really stands.
And finally, let's talk about the secret weapon of powerful reporting: Activity codes. Your WBS gives you the structure for the work, but it's the codes that give you flexibility in reporting. You need codes for discipline, for phase, and maybe for zone or floor. This is what lets you slice and dice and filter your schedule in 1,000 different ways to see exactly what you need to see, something the WBS was just not designed for.
So here we are, we have a perfect project shell. The structure is logical, the rules are set, the defaults are clean, and man, the temptation to just start adding activities and scheduling is huge right now. But this brings us to the final and most important rule for a disciplined planner.
Everything is perfectly in place. You've done more foundational work than most planners do in an entire project. So, is it time? Is it time to hit F9 and run that schedule?
Nope, absolutely not. And this right here is the moment that separates the pros from the amateurs.
You see, your goal at this stage was never to create a schedule with dates. It was to build a perfect, clean, logically sound project container before a single date even exists. This empty, well-structured shell, this is the sign of a professional setup. It's a clean canvas, totally free of errors and constraints. Now and only now are you truly ready to start planning.